guys, Kelly here, and today I wanted to share with you my May book haul. And so for those of you that have been with me for a while, you know that whenever I do a book haul or I buy books, bring them into my life, whether I buy them or get them for free or whatever, I always donate $1 for every book I get to some charity that involves education or literacy. I'm sorry if you hear a lot of noise. My daughter's playing with my book outlet box right now, so you might hear some box noises in the background. That's keeping her from tipping the tripod over, so sorry if that bothers you. So anyways, in my last April haul, I said I had not picked a charity because I only had 20 books and I wanted to wait to have some more to kind of donate a larger amount. So this is the charity that will cover both those books and this one. And my charity this month I chose is called Pro Literacy. Pro Literacy is the largest adult literacy organization, and so they support programs that help with adult literacy. They also create like booklets for tutors, and they do advocacy work for adults that would like to learn how to read. So that is the charity that I'll be donating for. If you would like to learn more about Pro Literacy, I will link their website down below. And now let's get to the book. So like you probably heard, I was talking about my book outlet box. I did do a book outlet order because May is my birthday month, and my husband and I both have birthdays in May. And instead of us buying presents for each other, because we're at that point where when we want something specific, we just decided, since we both have birthdays this month, that we would each get a certain amount of money to do whatever we want with. And so I bought books with it, of course. But before I get to my book outlet, I'll show you, I got a couple things from the library and Goodwill. I'll show you those first. So first I went to Goodwill and I picked up 2 books there, and the first one is The Lake House by Kate Morton. I've heard a lot about Kate Morton and her kind of like writing these kind of bigger family epic kind of multi-generational stories, so I just wanted to try one of them, and I thought getting it at Goodwill, it wasn't that expensive. This one specifically sounds like it's about a married couple who had a country home and one of their children went missing, and 70 years later somebody is bringing the case back up, so could be interesting. Covers a large span of time. And then the other one I got was The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I've heard about this book, but I actually don't really know what it's about. The people I've heard about it from say it's really good, say it's some mystery, and it also involves a lot of books inside of it. So I do want to read this, but I just got this book, and then afterwards I watched a video on Summer Dawn's channel. I'll link it down below, where she actually talks about all the books that are talked about inside of this book, and some of them are spoiled by this book. And I'm one that doesn't like to be spoiled for a book inside of another book, so I'm glad I saw her video. So now I'm going to read a couple of those books that I already own, like especially Jane Eyre. She says this book spoils Jane Eyre, so I'm going to read Jane Eyre first before I read this book. But I'll link that down below if you are interested to see which books are contained in this. And then I got 4 books from my library. My library does 50 cents for paperbacks, so if I see something, even if I'd never heard of it before, if it looks interesting, I'll pick it up. I got A Wrinkle in Time, which I'm sure most everybody knows about that book. I have not read it yet, so I figured I would give it a try. And then I got 3 thrillers, and most of these I have no idea what they are about. Some I haven't even heard of, but for 50 cents I thought I'll pick them up because I like thrillers and I want to try new authors. The first one is The Line Game by Ruth Ware. I've obviously heard of Ruth Ware, and I always know that she gets kind of middle reviews on hers, but I figured I'll give it a try. And if nothing else, it might be just an entertaining book to pass the time. And then the next one is The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. I've heard of Megan Miranda because I think she writes both YA and adult thrillers, and I hadn't heard of this one, so I don't know what this one's about, but I heard people a lot lately reviewing her other book, All the Missing Girls, and some people really enjoying that one. So for 50 cents, I thought I'd try that one. And the last one, I've never even heard of this author or this book, but it's called Descent by Tim Johnston. I read the back, and it just sounded interesting because it takes place like on a family vacation, and the 2 kids go out on a morning run and only one comes back. And sometimes that like family vacation, people missing in the woods type thing is just something I enjoy reading. So I thought I would give this author a try and see if he's any good. If you've ever heard of him, let me know, because I've never heard of anything by Tim Johnston. Okay, now let's move on to my book outlet order. So these are the books I bought for my birthday, and what inspired this was actually I got an email saying the paperback version of Gemina was available, and I've been slowly collecting the paperbacks of these. I have Illuminae, and I have this one, and I have to wait for Obsidio to actually come out in paperback, and then I'm going to reread the whole series once I have them all myself. But because this was on there and I wanted to get my free shipping, I had to spend at least $35. I had my birthday money, so that kind of started this whole thing. And my first kind of group of books are ones that I don't necessarily know a lot about, but that have been recommended to me by other booktubers. So any of the booktubers I mentioned, I will link their channels down below, so that if you don't already subscribe to them, maybe you'll find some new booktubers that do certain categories of books. And the first one is a thriller called Hold My Hand by M.J. Ford. And I had heard about this from Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books. She reads a lot of thrillers, and she done this just recently in I think it was most underrated thrillers, and she read like 5 that she had that were underrated and said whether she liked them or not. And this is the one that she liked the best, I think, out of the 5. And it sounded interesting, and they had it on Book Outlet. So I picked it up, and I think it does involve a child's disappearance, just from the basic thing that I read on the back. And the next one is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. I think this might be a trilogy. I'm not sure how many books are in this series, but my friend Taryn, who we actually buddy read books together, so we are friends away from BookTube, but she just started a BookTube channel a few months ago. So if you would like to support her, she's a new booktuber, and she read the first 2 books in the series last month and really enjoyed them. I don't know much, but I know it has kind of a combination of a lot of different classic books. Like some of the characters are like children of other characters. So there's Mary Jekyll and Edward Hyde. So it has to do with other classic horror and thriller books. So I thought I would give these a try. And then the next one is Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I had heard about this on Kate Pfiel's channel. She just read this, like, I think in the last couple weeks for school, but then she also wanted to read it, and from what I heard on her channel, it sounds like this is kind of a historical fiction with con artists and lots of twists and turns, and that there's also a female-female romance in this one. And it just sounded really interesting. I've heard about Sarah Waters on a couple other channels, but Kate just made it sound really interesting, so I picked that up. And then the last one that was recommended to me is The Unseen World by Liz Moore. This is recommended to me by Alex Black, and this is a story about a father and a daughter, and I think that the father has Alzheimer's. And of course, this actual edition does not have the full synopsis, but she talked about it, like raved about it, and how I think she's already read it a couple times, and it sounded really interesting, and I wanted to pick it up. Those were all of the books specifically recommended to me by other booktubers, so these were just other ones that I had on my TBR on Goodreads and saw on Book Outlet. And the first one is Watch Me Disappear by Janelle Brown. This is a thriller, and the very first line says that this woman went on a solo hike in the wilderness and she vanished. And I didn't have to read anything else after that, because I just really find intriguing thrillers that involve survival or being lost in the woods and stuff like that. I don't know why, it's just my thing, and so I thought I would give this a try. And the next one is A Kata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. I am currently reading the Binti trilogy by her, and I really enjoy them, but the thing with like novellas is they're so short and I want more from them, so I wanted to pick up her full-length novel. This is a duology, so I'm excited. I've heard people compare this to the Nigerian Harry Potter. I hate it when people compare things to Harry Potter, but I do love this author's writing and want to give it a try and hope it does have some really good fantastical elements. I love the world she created in the Binti trilogy, so I'm very excited to read that. The next one is This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel. I had heard about this book from a friend of mine, so it wasn't on BookTube, it was like an actual real life friend. Was reading this while we were on vacation together, and she made it sound really interesting. It is about a young boy who I think, yes, named Claude, who wants to be a girl when he grows up. So I think it is a trans story starting with a very young child, and I've heard good things about it when I have looked it up, the reviews and stuff, so I'm excited to check that out. The next book is a middle grade fantasy, and that is The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. This is the first in a series of books about, I think it's about two siblings that get pulled into fairy tales. Chris Colfer was a star on Glee, and now he has started to write books, and so I'm really interested in give this a try. I've heard that it is fun and whimsical. Since it's middle grade, it should read pretty quick, and if it's really cute, it would be something that I would love to collect for my kids when they get a little older. The next one is Penance by Kane Minato, and she is a Japanese author, and she only has 2 books translated to English currently, and the other one is Confessions, which has been one of my favorite thrillers that I have read so far in 2019. It's like my two favorites so far this year. So I really want to check out the other book that has been translated to English, and so that's this one. It doesn't get as high reviews as Confessions, but I also think Confessions got mixed reviews, so I'm really excited to give this one a try. And the next one is The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rakowski. This is the last book in a trilogy, the Winter's Trilogy. I owned the first one and then got a second one from the library, and when I saw this like on sale, I figured I'll just pick it up. I really loved the first book in this trilogy and really didn't like the second one, but from what I've heard, the third one picks back up and is better than the middle book, so I'm really hoping so since I bought it, but it was only like $3 I think, so I guess if it disappoints me, it's okay. But I do want to finish this trilogy off because I do not want to end it with the second book because that would be disappointing. And the last book is Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore. I have been collecting her books and then not reading them. This is the 3rd book by her that I own. She writes magical realism. I've heard great things about this one, that it is about like a multi-generational family, and I think that some of the women have like magical powers, and I also think that there is a female-female romance, and it has a lot of diversity in it. I don't know. I've heard great things, but for some reason I just keep buying. This is the 3rd book. I just keep buying them and not reading them. So I really do want to read one of her books soon. If this is the one I should start with, let me know because it sounds like it's going to be a beautiful book. And those are all the books that I have bought for my birthday and for the month of May. I'd love to hear your thoughts about any of these if you have read them. See you next time. Bye.